So Alperen Sengun in his sophomore year has been absolutely amazing for the Houston Rockets. If you look at his stats over the season so far, he's averaging around 15 points per game, around 9 rebounds, and around 2 assists. He is 20 years old, so he fits in with the time frame for the Houston Rockets. There are some concerns about him in the long term in terms of fit with the starting lineup and even on the bench. But we'll see what happens throughout the season with Steven Silas and what the Rockets want to do with him. For the most part, I think he's going to be here for the long run. We'll see, but with Victor Wembanyama in the next draft class, we'll see what Alperen Sengun's future is with the Houston Rockets. So what's up? My name is Rockets Empire. Today we're going to talk about Alperen Sengun and why he's been probably one of the Rockets' best players so far this season. So we'll get into it right now. We'll look at his shooting splits over the season. He's actually averaging around 54% from the field and around 21% from three, while also shooting at around 80% from the free throw line. So those are pretty okay stats. 54% from the field as a center is actually pretty good. 21% from three, he could obviously work on that three-pointer a lot better. And if he does decide to work on that three-pointer, I think it would help the Rockets on offense a lot more, considering that we have Jalen Green and KPJ, both guys that can handle the ball essentially. And I think if Sengun can develop that three-pointer, he can be a guy on the perimeter that can hit the occasional three-pointer essentially. And with the pick and roll, he can either do a pick and roll or even a pick and pop if he wants to, if he decides to develop that three-pointer. So he's also throwing in 1 block per game and also around 1 steal per game. Now, the thing about Sengun's game is that he gets into a lot of foul trouble. If you look at his fouls per game, he's averaging around 3.6 and around 2.4 turnovers. So that's the thing about Sengun. We saw that last season. He was getting into a lot of foul trouble, and especially this season, it's pretty much a trend here. So we'll see what happens. I think Sengun can obviously work on, fouling less and being able to lock down, his defender pretty easily. But we'll see. He's only 20 years old, has a lot of room to improve. And I think, with the Rockets, he could be one of the building blocks on this team moving forward. With Jalen Green and KPJ, if you want to consider him a building block, we can talk about that in another video. But, Sengun, Jabari Smith, and Jalen Green, all three of these guys should be all three of these guys should be the building blocks of the future for the Rockets so far. Until we get into the offseason with the draft. We have Victor Wembanyama, who is clearly the number 1 prospect in that draft. If you don't draft him number 1, that's pretty much an obvious mistake. Scoot Henderson, number 2, is basically, I would say kind of on the same level as Victor Wembanyama, maybe like a little bit under him. But regardless, if you got one of these two, you're pretty much set for the future. But if you get either one, I would be fine with it because obviously Scoot fits in with the 1, and then you could probably move KPJ to the 3, Jalen Green to the 2. It makes sense. But Victor should be the number 1 prospect in this draft. And with Sengun on this team, the fit would definitely be weird with him, Jabari Smith, and Sengun. Would you run Smith at the 3 and then maybe Sengun 4 and then maybe Victor at the 5? That would be... I would say that would probably be the lineup. But at the same time, Sengun, the problem with him is that he's a bit undersized at the center position. If you move him to the power forward position, he's going to be a lot slower, a lot more unathletic, essentially. And I think he would be crucified at the 4 position. Looking at Jabari Smith, he's able to hold his own because his frame and his size and his, footwork ability, he's able to stand up with some of the best power forwards in the league. Not saying that he is a great defender or a great player at the power forward position, obviously being a rookie. But his frame and his size allows him to be a pretty respectable power forward in the league so far. And with Sengun, his footwork, his athletic ability, and his basically just slow movement overall, I don't think it's going to work with the power forward position in the starting lineup. So we'll see. Maybe he comes off the bench, sort of like a 6-man type of role, which I would be fine with. If you look at some of the teams in the league who have some of the best 6-mans in the league, if you look at the Mavericks, Christian Wood, he's getting basically starting minutes off the bench, and he's still doing fairly well with Luka Doncic. So if Sengun can kind of play like that, I would definitely be okay with it, but he definitely has other abilities that Christian Wood doesn't. So we'll get into it right now. So going into the season, a lot of people had Steven Silas starting Sengun at the center position, and that was obviously the consensus. That's what every Rockets fan thought. But that one game where Bruno Fernando started over Sengun is when things started to go downhill, and there's been a lot of drama with Sengun and Bruno Fernando recently, and who should be starting, who shouldn't. And I'm not gonna say my opinion on that. I think it's pretty clear with this video why I think Sengun should be starting. But I'm not gonna discredit Bruno. I think he's an amazing player. I think he definitely could carve out a role somewhere that's not on the Rockets. But regardless, I just don't see the fit with Sengun and Bruno Fernando. I just think that, Sengun, we all know what he's capable of essentially. So that brought a lot of drama into the Rockets community, especially on Rockets Twitter. There's a lot of conversations, a lot of just overall arguments of why Sengun should be the starter. But at the same time, I mean, if we tank and we do get the first or the second pick and we get Wembanyama, we don't know where Sengun's going to fit into all of this. So honestly, I think Sengun, if we do get Victor Wembanyama, he's going to be a sixth man. I think that's pretty much inevitable, which could be good for us because off the bench, I mean, he gives us that scoring output that basically good playmaking from the center position and that pretty much great rebounding from him. The thing is, I think he would get started minutes off the bench too. We'll see. It really just depends on if we get Victor Wembanyama. If we get a guy like Scoot Henderson or, maybe one of the Thompson twins or Cam Whitmore or someone like that, then I don't really think it matters that much, but we'll see. Sengun, the thing about Sengun that's great is offensively, he's been improving a lot. We see this with Jalen Green and Sengun in the pick and roll. Jalen Green being an improved passer this season, it really helps Sengun in the pick and roll, and if he decides to develop that three-pointer, I mean, the pick and pop would be absolutely amazing in the offense too. So defensively, I mean, he's been pretty all right. In the post, he's been, I would say decent. I mean, last game I didn't really watch too many highlights, but I know Nikola Jokic and Sengun were going at it. And even before that, I mean, guys like Embiid, guys like Giannis, who isn't even a center, but he kind of plays the center position sometimes. Brook Lopez, I mean, these guys are going to be crucifying Sengun on the perimeter and on the post. Sengun just needs to get better defensively. I think he does. He either needs to work on the footwork or just get better athletically. It's just a matter of him being able to guard his man essentially, because I think we need someone that's going to lock it down in the interior. So offensively in the post is where he's going to be doing a lot of his damage. I mean, he has a lot of good pump fakes, a lot of good head fakes. I mean, we all know him in the post is probably his bread and butter in his game. The thing about Sengun is that he's only going to get better each and every season, and I think next season we'll see if he's gonna be able to hold it down in the interior. I think the season's gonna be more of an experimental season to kind of just see if Sengun can hold it down in the interior or even just on defense in general, because I think defensively, he just needs a lot of work. I think he does. I mean, he still has a lot of time to develop his defense, but we'll see next season. I think we'll definitely see. If he doesn't work out at the center position, then we could obviously get another center in free agency, but I don't know. We'll see. You guys can let me know what you guys think about Sengun. I think he could be the long-term center position for our Rockets, essentially, if we don't get Victor Wembanyama, but if we do, the fit would definitely be weird. I mean, we'll probably get to that when the time comes, because obviously we don't know what pick we're going to be getting, but we'll see. So you guys can let me know what you guys think about Sengun. That's the video. My name is Rockets Empire, and I'm out. Peace.